Hi there guys, welcome to today's hypnosis lesson. Today we're taking a little bit of a break from talking about what you say. I'm going to focus on how you say it. So today's lesson is all about communication. So there's a few things we need to talk about here. We need to talk about tonality, we need to talk about pace, we need to talk about subtle communication that happens through leakage. All those things will make a huge difference as to whether or not you are successful when you hypnotise a person. What I should say right here off the bat is that there are kind of two schools of thought as the way that you use your voice when you're hypnotising someone. I am going to say that neither of these are any better, it's just a matter of choice, although personally I believe that one's much better than the other, and I'll tell you why I think that. But there are other hypnotists that would say exactly the opposite, so this is completely up to you. The first technique is the idea of using a dull, monotonous voice and keeping it all at one level and relaxing someone down into trance. The second technique is almost like a roller coaster. The voice goes up and down. You say something exciting, you get exciting. You speed it up. You say something relaxing, it goes down and it gets relaxing. Now, I really favour the second version of that. I find the first version boring to do, boring to listen to. If someone's doing that for me, I tend to just get far too distracted because it doesn't engage my mind enough. But I've got a little bit of a monkey mind, so that's probably why that's my preference. But the main reason that I prefer the option of going up and down, if you think about when you relax, if you just lie back and relax and imagine your muscles relaxing, try and get nice and comfortable, you do become more relaxed. But if you tensile your muscles first, squeeze them for a moment and then relax, the relaxation in the same amount of time is way more profound. And this idea of using your voice like a roller coaster and going up and down, getting fast and slowing down, using higher pitches and lower tones, that's almost like tensing and relaxing the mind. And to me, it feels as though the relaxation as a result of that is much more profound than just that monotone. So that's what I prefer. I've got to say, Steve G. Jones, who is a very prominent hypnotist on the internet, he's got stacks of courses on the internet and a lot of hypnotic audios, he prefers the monotone. I've got loads of his audios, I've got loads of his courses that I've reviewed, and I'm really not too keen on his hypnotic recordings. I find them far too long-winded and very boring to listen to, but that's just my opinion. That might be something that you enjoy. I find that I've been listening to him for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I'm thinking, Jesus, we're nowhere near the therapy yet. I've had enough of this now, I'm too distracted, and I end up just turning the thing off. Each to their own. On the flip side, you've got people like Richard Bandler. Now, I use my voice a bit like a roller coaster, but he is crazy. Little squeals and pops and squeaks here and there. His voice is all over the place, and he is an incredible hypnotist, so I think if he does it, it's probably a good idea to do it. A few other people that you probably know, Wendy Friesen. She is, I think she's got a lovely voice. I really like her hypnotic technique, but she's so fast. She's got a really, really quick induction style. She does a relaxation of the body, and she whizzes through the body almost as quick as someone might just do the face. It's just insane, but I really like it. It suits me, and I find her techniques work well. Paul McKenna. Paul McKenna tends to be he's not completely monotone, but he tends to slow things down a lot more than some of the other guys. So he does really drag it out, it gets relaxing and it's nice, but he's also a little bit more engaging. Another guy, Igor Lehovsky, very prominent on the internet, he's probably the leading expert in covert and conversational hypnotic techniques. He uses not so much the roller coaster pattern, getting dead excited and then relaxing again, but what he does, which is something I really strongly suggest that you try, is he encourages people to say words so that the way you say them is, it kind of describes the meaning of the word. So the word can be relaxing, exciting, secret. So he kind of suggests that. And on one of his courses, he recommends that you go through a list of words and practice saying them in the way that represents their meaning. And that is a brilliant exercise to do. So I really recommend you do that. Without trying to sound patronising, I think one of the best voices that you can use is kind of like when a school teacher's reading a book out to some infants at nursery school. But don't be too patronising with it. But that idea of it being like a storyteller voice, and it really pulls people's attention in, gets them engrossed on the story. As opposed to what I think happens is when you use the monotone, is it's far too easy for the person to just get bored and kind of distracted. So that's my experience. Other things that we really need to talk about, tonality. This is something that you will need to work on unless you have naturally got a lovely, nice, warm brown voice. When I first started doing hypnosis, I had an horrendous voice for hypnosis. It was very nasal. I still talk quickly now, but back then I used to talk a lot quicker. But through practice, I kind of slowed my voice down and lowered my voice just by focusing on different areas of my body. If you focus on your nose when you're speaking, you can make your voice sound horribly squeaky. Focus on your mouth, it sounds a little bit better, which is it gives it more of a full sound. But if you focus on your throat being really open, if it helps, put your hand there and just imagine that you are talking from your throat, and immediately it starts to get deeper. Then move down to your chest and just imagine that your voice is coming from your chest and really feel the vibration there. Then put your hand on your belly and feel the vibration and send your voice all the way down to your belly. Now, if you ever listen to Paul McKenna's inductions, he slows it all the way down until his voice is almost starting to croak. And when he does this, the person's consciousness slows all the way down too. So that's kind of why you do it. The idea is to pace and lead a person by using your tone. So if a person is alert, they're in normal waking consciousness, they're in the beta state of consciousness with the brainwave frequencies going quite quickly, you create an association between that and the way you speak normally. As you start to slow down your speech as they go into trance, their brain will slow down, their breathing will slow down, they'll become more relaxed. So it's this idea of connecting with something of them and then you moving down just by lowering your voice and moving it deeper down, and they follow you down. So that's kind of the way that you lead a person using your tonality. You also want to do that with your pace. So not only lower the tone, but start to drag out the words and leave longer pauses between words. The next thing I want to offer you is a little bit of a tip to really help you to do that. Is to imagine that the person you're hypnotizing is foreign and they can't understand the language that you're using. So that you need to lead them into a trance just by the way you say the words as opposed to the actual content of the words themselves. Now this is totally taking you away from that idea of printing a script off the internet and reading it out almost like it's a spell that you're going to cast upon someone and it's going to put them into a trance state. That's what loads and loads of beginners do. Now, if you used really good tonality, you got that pace all nice and really relaxed a person by creating an association between your voice, you could pretty much use any old script and it would probably work. But if you get the pace and the tone wrong and you deliver your script in a way that is kind of irritating to a person, then you can have the very best script in the world and it's going to be useless. So the way you say what you say is more important than what you're saying. This also comes down to your body language and other ways that you can lead communication to a person. It's imperative that you expect the person to go into trance and you have a sense of confidence about you. They need to be confident that you can hypnotise them. If you sound really nervous and you're talking really quick, then the person is probably not going to trust you and they're probably not going to believe that you can do it and they probably won't go into trance. But if you sound really sure of yourself, completely confident, and you totally expect this to work, then the chances are you'll be much more successful. Now in a future lesson I will give you a technique that you can use to give you unstoppable confidence in any situation, so we will have that sorted. But until you've got a little bit more experience, you've kind of got to fake it till you make it. What I would suggest that you do is imagine hypnotising people. Imagine yourself being really tall, so that gives you instant confidence. And visualise yourself doing a hypnotic induction in a very confident way and the person going into trance so that you can fool your mind into thinking you have already done it. And then when you do go to hypnotise someone for real, you've got a little bit of a memory to back you up. So you'll tend to not be so nervous that way. But you don't have to worry about any of that yet, because we'll come to some techniques later that will really help you out with your first inductions. So aside of that, what I'd also like to talk about is something that I don't think I've ever heard another hypnotist speak about, and I think it is incredibly important. We're communicating with words. We're communicating with our body language. We're communicating with our tonality, our pace, our expectation, and I also believe we are also communicating with our thoughts. If you deliver everything perfectly, and you have thoughts inside your mind that are saying, this ain't going to work, this person's not going to go into trance, I can't do this, who am I trying to kid? Then the chances are they will not go into hypnosis. If you can hypnotise a person by your thoughts at the same time as speaking to them, then you'll be way, way more successful. Firstly, from a purely psychological point of view, if you kind of do an induction in your mind at the same time as doing one out loud, it leaves no room for all those thoughts saying this isn't going to work, and they're the kind of thoughts that would cause you to make mistakes or mess something up or come across as not being very confident. But I think it goes much, much deeper than that. I'm not going to say I believe, I completely know that you can transmit your thoughts to another person. I'm not saying that many people can consciously pick up on your thoughts, but if their subconscious mind is able to pick up on those thoughts, and those thoughts that you are sending are that you don't believe that the induction is going to work, then that will affect the induction. So the thoughts that you send to another person, even though they consciously probably are not aware of them, unless they're very gifted, these thoughts need to be that you expect it to work, you're confident it's going to work. And one of the ways that you can do this, which I find the most useful, is to think the words that you're about to say before you say them. So you'd think something along the lines of, as you go into trance, you can relax your body. And then you would say, as you go into trance, you can relax your body. So there's no conflict there. There's complete congruency between the thoughts you're projecting to them and the words you're projecting to them. Now, there are a huge amount of people that only subscribe to the psychological view of what goes on with hypnosis, and they completely dismiss all of this, and I think that is ridiculous. There are lots of examples, particularly in Russia, of people using purely psychic inductions, where there's no communication verbally whatsoever, there are just thoughts from one person to another, and they are able to hypnotise people to do this and get them to carry out suggestions. And there have been experiments with this being done over great distances too, so really, really do allow your thoughts to be a part of the induction process. I think that about wraps up this idea of the way that you use your voice, but it is worth saying that as a hypnotist, kind of it's your only tool. You don't need anything else. So you're very much like a singer. When you turn up for a gig, you've just got your voice. Everyone else has got to carry their instruments, they've got to learn to play their instruments, but your instrument is your voice. So, you know, practice using it. Practice lowering the tonality and slowing down your words. Get some key phrases and practice saying them in ways that sound nice. Now, I will recommend that you record your voice and listen back to it, which I know everybody hates doing, but just listen to it, see how it sounds, and then see if you can make it sound nicer. See if you can make it sound more relaxing, more conducive to encourage a person into trance. Now, nobody likes the sound of their own voice to begin with, but this is your instrument, and I strongly encourage you to work with it. So that's all for today. I will see you tomorrow with another lesson. Please do take the time to practice using your voice, because it's the only tool that you need. You take care and have a great evening. Bye-bye.